morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. If I could ask you to come fill in on the grass here and on the road. Come all the way in. Just try not to step on a grave. But there's nobody buried in this spot over here. If I could ask the pallbearers, please, to join me at the coach. Chris and Jonathan, Nico and Pita, Ezra Sema, who's going to be standing in for Ale, and Aiden. מלך ממית ומחיה מצמיח ישוע. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים ומתיר אסורים. ומבחינתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומדו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה מצמיח ישוע. Straightest line possible. There's a big step up. Come off the way you come on. you're welcome to come a bit closer if you're able to hear a little better. Surround this family with your love. Me'ayin Yahvo Ezri Sa'ena Hecharim Me'ayin Yahvo Ezri Me'im Adonai Osei Shemayim V'Haaretz Ezri Me'im Adonai Osei Shemayim V'Haaretz. I lift my eyes up to the mountains, and what is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, the maker of heaven and earth. See, the protector of Israel will neither slumber nor sleep. God is your guardian, and God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. Amen. Friends, we would give anything not to have to be here at this time. This came on way too quickly. Our time to prepare, if one could ever prepare for something like this, was not nearly enough. And yet, if this is why we need to be together, then these are the people that we need to be with. To be surrounded by those that love Lilian and felt her love in their own lives. This is the community of sorrow, the community of mourners that we need to be with. And so I want to invite you to embrace this moment, to not run from mourning, but to in fact lean into it, to allow the emotions to wash over you, to recognize that we don't get over our grief. We have to go through it. And this is an important part of those first steps as we walk in the valley of the shadow of death. To be present at this moment, to be physically present for each other, to be emotionally and spiritually present, to honor Lilian's memory as we remember it for blessing. We talked yesterday as we were sitting as a family, I think I opened with this when we talked, that our tradition teaches that when a person dies, their soul goes up to heaven to help God run the world. And that we could think for a moment about what Lilian would be telling God about how to run the world. She might have an opinion or two on that. I think as Tony said, I think she didn't think that he was doing such a great job right now and needed some work. So I'm editing your comment for publication. Our tradition teaches us to turn to the writings of the Tehillim, to the Psalms, attributed to King David as his diary, as his journal entries, to find in those ancient words of comfort and consolation for our present circumstance. It's quite amazing, actually, to think that words that were written 2,000-3,000 years ago can still speak to us today as though they were just written for us, so prescient for this moment. And so I want to share a few of those with you. I just chanted one, Psalm 121 that we sang, or I chanted for you together. But another from Psalm 15, it's not on your handout. Adonai mi yagur bo chalecha mi yishkan b'har kodshecha. God, who may abide in your house, who may dwell in your holy mountain? In this psalm, King David's asking the question, who at the end of their life is measured for merit? Who at the end of their life gets to go to heaven and to sit beside God and to offer guidance on the world? And then David answers that question with this litany, with this list describing a person of such qualities that should merit such reward. It's very similar to the list that you gave me of your wife, of your mother, of your grandmother yesterday. Adonai, those who are upright, who do justly, who speak the truth within their hearts, who do not slander others or wrong them or bring shame upon them, who scorn the lawless, but honor those who revere God, who give their word and come what may, do not retract it, who do not exploit others, who do not take bribes. Those who live in this way shall never be shaken, shall dwell on God's holy mountain. Amen. In your handout, you'll find another psalm, the familiar words of Psalm 23. Let's read together in the English. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen. One more reading from our tradition, this not from the Tehillim, not from the Psalms, but from Proverbs. In traditional Jewish homes, it would be customary on Shabbos, as the candles are lit and the challah and the wine are blessed, in that in-between moment before the eating, perhaps when the home is in a bit of chaos, as everybody's getting and gathering and all the things, that a moment of pause would be taken. And as is traditional in homes, the husband would offer to his wife, the words of Proverbs, the words of Eshet Chayil, a woman of valor. I don't know, Tony, if you ever offered this blessing to Lilian in word, but I know you did indeed. I know you honored her over those 66 years of marriage in this every way and every day. And so we offer that blessing upon her memory now. Eshet Chayil mi yimsa, a woman of valor who can find. She is more precious than fine pearls. Her husband trusts in her, and so he lacks nothing. She does him good, never harm, all the days of her life. She perceives that her labor is rewarding. Her candle burns on into the night. She reaches out to those in need and extends her hands to the poor. She is clothed in strength and dignity, and she faces the future cheerfully. She speaks with wisdom. The law of kindness is on her lips. Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband sings her praises. Many daughters have done valiantly, but you, Lilian, you Eshet Chayil, you excel them all. Amen. In the rising of the sun and its going down, we remember her. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we remember her. In the opening of buds and in the rebirth of spring, we remember her. In the rustling of leaves and the beauty of autumn, we remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember her. So long as we live, she too shall live, for she's now a part of us as we remember her. And so let's share some memories now. The family received a few emails from people that wanted to have remarks shared here, and I want to begin by sharing those with you. This from Irv and Rob. From Robin and Irv, I should say. This is the most difficult message we have ever had to write, and missing you all so much at this moment. As Lil took ill so suddenly over the last few weeks, it has undoubtedly been heartbreaking to watch things unfold from a distance and not be there, to be there physically by Lil's side. Despite this, the strength and closeness of our families, the constant phone calls back and forth at all hours of the night, and the care of those around us has enabled us to feel as though we were included in all happenings and updates of Lil's condition, making us feel like we were there with her. The last few weeks have allowed us to reflect on the beautiful and memorable trips and moments that we have shared over the years, both in Canada and in Australia. We will treasure those special memories always. As is the Jewish custom, we wish you all a long life, to serve as a reminder that we who are left behind must never forget those who we will miss so much, We love and miss you all so very much. Irv and Robin. And this from Tony's sister, Audrey. As we all bid a fond farewell to our beloved Lil, I'll always cherish the wonderful memories of the times we spent together at your lovely homes in South Africa and in Canada over the years. Lil, I will always miss you. You were so special, and a beautiful lady who was an integral part of our family. Always there for us, and I will miss you terribly. Rest in peace, my beloved sister-in-law. And this from Beck and Cheryl. Words cannot express how we feel with the passing of our cousin and close friend Lilian, having had such a close relationship for so many years. I would estimate at least 70. Cheryl and Lil were brought up in the same house in Greenside and Yeovil. All their childhood stories and all the good times we had together. It seems like another world. We express our sorrow and our relief that she is pain-free and at peace. As I said before, words cannot express our sadness. May you all be comforted in the fact that she is at peace. May you all live a long life and have peace of mind. We want to actually, at this time also, thinking of Shirley and knowing that she too is in need of healing, to offer Misha Berach for her a prayer for healing, that she might feel the comfort and the healing of this community even from so far away. Misha Berach Avotenu Avraham Yitzhak v'Yaakov v'Imotenu Sarah Rechava Leah, Hu Yivarech v'Yarpet Cholah. May the one who blessed our ancestors Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, so too send from here to there a blessing of healing for Shirley. May she be granted a refuah shlema, a complete recovery, refuat hanefesh, a renewal of her soul, refuat haguf, a renewal of her body, and may we do our part to bring about healing in her life and healing in our world. And we say together, Amen. Judaism is a way of life that emphasizes the importance of memory, as we well know. We are commanded, Zachor, remember, Al Tishkach, never forget. Almost all of our rituals serve as memorials and as reminders. We wear the talit with its tzitzit to remind us of our obligation to observe the mitzvot, the commandments of Torah. We eat matzah on Passover to remind us of the exodus, of that journey to freedom we made in such great haste, and of the lechem oni, the bread of affliction that our ancestors ate in Egypt. A bride and groom at a wedding, they break a glass at the conclusion of the ceremony to remind us, a symbolic reminder of the sorrows that the Jewish people has experienced in the course of our centuries. And on Rosh Hashanah, we pray, Zochreinu l'chaim, remember us, O God, and grant us life. Our sages instituted the Yizkor service, the memorial service that so many are familiar with, where we remember those who shape our lives and who shaped our years. And in the prayers that come right before the Kaddish portion, or part of the Kaddish portion of that service, there's an interesting turn of phrase. We refer to a mother who has passed away as an Imi Morati, my mother, my teacher. In this simple phrase, we have a recognition of the significant role entrusted to the mother, her role as a teacher of her children, but of course not only her children. However, despite Judaism's great emphasis on memory, it's impossible to remember everything. And so what should we remember about Lilian? Should we remember the rapid progression of her illness that was only diagnosed less than 10 weeks ago? Or the joy of how she lived every day of her life? Do we focus our thoughts on what we have lost with her passing, or say prayers of gratitude and thanksgiving for what we were given in having her as a part of our life, as a part of this family and this marriage that has endured for decades?
We must be selective in our memories, looking back over the years and remembering the good things and keeping in mind the shared experiences. We should not give undue emphasis to times of adversity, to times of illness, of alienation, or of suffering, but to the qualities that have added a dimension to our lives. The smile that caught Tony's eye at a dance party more than 66 years ago, her cheerful presence, her positive attitude, and her need for math tutoring that solidified a relationship, ultimately leading to a proposal. We can remember with a smile now how her parents never thought the two of them would last. She was 17, he was just 18. And we can allow ourselves to be filled with awe and appreciation for how Lilian and Tony truly loved and cared for each other all these years. How wrong her parents were, and how happy they were to have been wrong in at least that one instance. Let us remember her love of her family, her children, their spouses, her grandchildren, her great-grandchildren, and their many, many friends from all over the world. Picturing in our mind's eye her love of Scrabble, of her sitting and playing words with friends, her sense of humor, how she could be funny and silly and loving and attentive all at the same time. Remembering how she was not an extravagant person. She didn't need or desire fancy things or fancy restaurants because she was rich in her family. She loved hosting parties at your home and having her family and friends around her and surrounding them with love. And anyone who ever came into that home, into that house, especially her children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren, and so many of their friends will remember the sweets cabinet she kept in the passage by the kitchen that everyone was welcome to and often did reach into when you needed just a little bit of sugar. That cabinet was the embodiment of her love. If she could bring a little joy or sweetness or laughter to your day, then that's what she would do. And we can remember with admiration and deference how she would pursue the clients that hadn't paid their bills yet. She could be relentless, but she was also kind and empathic. This morning, as we look back over Lilian's life, we must allow the sadness and the sickness to fade from our memories and do our utmost to remember the years spent together, her devotion to her family, to all of you, her friends, and to our community, and communities in other places where they lived. Remembering her, as we say, l'chaim, for life, not an illness or pain. And I want to return to that phrase that we used to describe a mother during the Yizkor service, Imi Morati, my mother, my teacher. For above all, Lilian was the person in her family to whom others looked to for guidance on how to deal with all that life brought. For the most significant part of a child's education occurs, as we know, not in the classroom, but in the home. The mother conveys to her children her fears and her hopes, her defeats and aspirations, through the way that she handles all the experiences of life. And these hopes and values are what shape the outlook of her children and her grandchildren and generations beyond. And Lilian taught us all so much by how she lived and how she cared for everyone around her. And she continues to teach us this morning in her passing. Her memory lives on inside of everyone who knew her for a blessing. It lives on for a lesson on how to be a spouse, how to make a marriage work, how to build a home, a family, raise children, love grandchildren and great-grandchildren, how to nurture friendships, and how to get the very most out of life and its blessings. Those lessons do not end this morning. We still have so much to learn from her life and how she lived it. She will always be Imi Morati, our mother, our teacher. She lives on in each of us as we remember her for blessing. Amen. So friends, there's two more prayers that need to be said. One is El Malei Rachamim. It's not in your handout. It's A prayer for Lilian's soul. As I mentioned earlier, we are here to escort her soul tachat kanfei chashechina, under the wings of God's presence. Our tradition teaches that it's the stories that we will share now and at Shiva and over the days and weeks and months ahead, and year after year as we remember her. The stories that we share and the lessons we draw from her life that let God know who God is getting, that quite literally sing her praises. And so as we offer this prayer on her neshama, on her soul, we sing her praises unto God, just as she sang ours every time we were with her. Yomre rachamim, shochein bamromim, Amitzeh menucha nechona, tachat kanfecha shechina, im kroshim utechorim, kezochar rakia mashirim, et nishmat Italiba bat Hanoch v'Shena, shechalal olama, ba'al harachamim, yastirecha, b'seta knafav l'olamim, v'yitzrur, b'yitzrur chachayim et nishmata, Adonai hu nachalata, v'tanuach, B'shalom, Amishkava, B'nomar, Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Lilian, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence in the shadow of your wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance. May she rest in peace. And we say together, Amen. So friends, we're going to lower the casket now. And while that is taking place, I'm going to spend a moment with the family to tear the memorial ribbon, the Kriya ribbon that they are wearing. And then we'll recite another prayer, say Kaddish, and place earth.
It's the cut of the tape. Reminds us of the story of Job, who rent his garments and tore his clothing and lost it from him. So too our hearts are torn and wrinkled. Just as though we can stick together, we show a scene of hearts are torn and wrinkled. We show a scar. The scars that remind me of the indelible impression. The ones in your soul. And it's every day in the say a blessing.
One more poem on the inside of your handout. When I die, if you need to weep, cry for someone walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around others and give them what you need from me. You can love me most by letting hands touch hands and souls touch souls. You can love me most by sharing your joys, multiplying your good deeds. You can love me most by letting me live in your eyes and not in your mind. And when you say Kaddish for me, remember what our Torah teaches. Love doesn't die. People do. So when all that is left to me is love, give me away. The Kaddish prayer is on the other side of the page. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, v'yomad yivrach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'hayed echol beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'maru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'lamei omaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'rechu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damin ron be'alma v'maru, amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'maru, amen. Oseh shalom b'romav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael, v'kol yoshvei tevel, v'maru, amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn. Comfort this family and all the bereaved among us. And we say together, amen. Friends, just a couple of quick instructions. In a moment, the family is going to place earth, as is Jewish custom, to fulfill the mitzvah of being the gentle hands that carry their loved ones to a final burial. As they do that, I'm going to ask you to make 2 lines along the road behind you, facing each other, so that you are facing each other. So after the family has placed earth, they can walk out between you and head to their cars and to their home for the meal of condolence. Shiva tonight will be at 6 o'clock at Lilian and Tony's home. Please don't arrive before 5:30. We'll have Shiva services there tonight and tomorrow also at 6 o'clock. After the family has left, I'll invite you all please to come forward to help us place earth so that we can fulfill this mitzvah. So if you could assemble and make those lines now.
So it's customary when you take the shovel, the first shovel of earth is done upside down. The shovel is it's not normal shovel. And then you used to place 3 shovels at least. When you turn the shovel to the middle, each person can fulfill the mitzvah on their own. Then you can go for either side. Be very careful on this edge here. It's strong. It's better to go for it. Go stand next to him. Hamakom Yenachem, Etchem, B'toch, Sha'ar, Avalei, Zion, Yerushalayim. May God console you among the mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. Friends, if you're able to come forward now, there are shovels on both sides. Please be very careful on the far edge. It's a bit soft. So just try to stay within the green bars on that side. Thank you. If you're going to shovel from the far side, please go around the other way. Friends, you're welcome to keep your programs that you would like, but they have God's name on them, called Shemot. And so we don't just throw them away. We bury them as is proper for Jewish sacred text. So if you would like to, you can actually place them in the grave, and we'll surround her with words of Torah. You want to hold your first one? Friends, those that are able to, it's necessary that we fully cover the casket with earth. So if you're able to do some additional placing of earth, we'd appreciate that. No, actually, it's quite traditional because the papers have God's name on them, and so they need to be buried anywhere. So most people go back to their farm and throw them away. And so instead, we place them in such a place to show them the Bible. One time that I wouldn't think of closing the door. Of course,
Those that are watching at home, this concludes the live stream. Thank you.